podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Oil flows through your veins. You are divine. Get in your airplane and show the world what true divinity actually means. Find new places, stick up for the working folk against those who would abuse them, teach the Maiden of Oil's doctrine, and never fall from her light. To do so is to be grounded and forgotten.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story of Fuel Priest, the Dieselpunk Tabletop RPG, a new game by Timeless Caverns, which is currently on Kickstarter. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on one of the masterminds and creators behind this great game, Sean. Is that correct? Is that how you fall in line with Fuel Priest, Sean?
Yeah, that's about accurate. I like you throwing in the little buzz about me being a mastermind. Really boosts my ego. Thanks for having me on.
Well, there you go. Maybe this will boost your ego, or maybe it won't. But also, just while I'm thinking about it, have you ever watched MASH?
I have watched MASH. I was living with my partner this summer, and I'm going to give out a special shout out to her younger, well, to I'm losing it, to their younger sister. We would just sit there and watch MASH for way too long.
Wow, because maybe it's your accent, or I don't know, but you said, or maybe it's not an accent, but you sound, I can't remember his name, but one of the main characters on MASH, you sound exactly like him, but I think he died, so I don't know if he's been resurrected in you or what, but you sound exactly like him, to me at least.
Oh my God, I appreciate that, and you're right, that does go straight to my head.
Oh boy, well, let's see if we can bring you down a little bit. Let's rewind a little bit if we could. We don't have to go all the way back, unless, of course, you were born into the RPG world. But how did you get started into role playing games?
I came out of the womb with a D20 in hand and a signed copy of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons by Gary Gygax. So.
Well, there you go. I guess you were born into it
then. Yeah. So actually, I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons with the Timeless Caverns folk. Back in 6th grade, we were playing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, and we continued that through sporadically until my senior year of high school, where we would play, or actually Daniel, who's our brilliant social media coordinator, ran a really fun campaign for an entire year. And since then, we've just been experimenting with games. I recently graduated from college, and I studied game design the whole time, with a focus on tabletop RPGs, because I'm really interested in the way that tabletop RPGs can tell stories and the way that you can really push forward conversation through this medium.
Cool. And then I want to say you've been doing this for, you've known these people for 12 years, so you started playing back 12 years ago, is that right? According to your Kickstarter video.
Yeah, I think with the exclusion of Megan, I met all of them, the exclusion of Megan and Drew, I met them all 6th grade in middle school. Megan I met a year later, and I forget when I met Drew, but I just like to imagine he's always been there.
Cool beans. Yeah, so going back to I keep making your head big for some reason, but you would sound like Alan Alda, I guess his name is, it looks like. To me, at least.
Oh, yeah. I'll take it. I like it.
Well, there you go. So I guess you like these guys, or you get along with them enough to be able to create an RPG game?
Yeah, or something along those lines, yeah.
Or you haven't killed each other yet, at least?
Yeah, in all seriousness, I honestly couldn't have asked for a better team. This project actually started, so at the college I went to, New Hampshire College, last year you spend it working on a project of your own design. And so that's how Fuel Priest started. And over the summer, I kept trying, after I graduated, I kept trying to put work into it, but I couldn't get it into gear. So I asked all of them to work on it with me, and here we are.
So it was a college project? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it started as my senior thesis.
Interesting. That's cool. So, I guess like you said, the word on the street is you guys have a new RPG on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about it, Sean?
Oh my gosh, I could tell you anything you want to know about it.
Well, per se, somebody's listening and they don't have, they're on the road or whatnot for some weird reason that they don't have their Kickstarter app or the website pulled up. What would you tell them about it? Maybe they haven't seen it. There's a bunch of games out there on Kickstarter, so it's kind of gone under those or whatnot as they keep on adding more games and whatnot. What can you tell somebody that's not looked at it? What can you tell them about it?
Yeah, well, I think I would let them know that it is a narrative tabletop experience, right? We're trying to tell, you're not going to be able to tell all types of stories in this game because we were very specific in the type of characters people would be playing. So specifically, you are playing as fuel priests, and in this world, and in the world of fuel priests, that means you were born with oil in your veins that marks you as a semi-divine being, um, and you are in direct opposition to. We've been calling them old money, and the inspiration for that came from in The Great Gatsby, how there's this concept like old money, like versus new money. Um, so like wealthy elite who have been like abusing all the capital they have through to just abuse working folk and create untenable situations for them, and you are in direct opposition to them. More than that, it's the sort of way it plays is you are choosing when you get to succeed, and you choose when you succeed and when you fail. So a lot of it is a game of prioritization, because you roll very rarely in this. Like you don't roll very often in this game, because you're given all the resources you need to make things happen. You just need to figure out what you want to happen and what you're willing to compromise on. And those sort of choices are what push the story forward. Also, airplanes are just really freaking cool, and you get to have one, and you get to fly around and just like create the world as you go. Like a major part of this game is you put a large sheet of paper. Is this explicit? Am I allowed to cuss, or is this family friendly?
Yeah, family friendly if you could.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so you put this big sheet of paper on the table, and like as you're flying around learning about new locations or people are telling you about things, you draw it on the map. The one of the first things you do in character creation is you draw where your character is from. And so you can just go there now. Like that location is now an important part of the world.
Okay, cool. And so you don't roll much. I know you talked of being born with the D20, but how does that work not having to roll?
So um, the game revolves around D6s, and you you roll about half the time, right? So your time is sort of equally split between being in the sky in your airplane and on the ground, like walking around as a person. Um, and so the way the dice work is it's a 1, 2, 3 failure, like fails or not fails, 1, 2, 3 complication, 4, 5, 6 success. And you can spend those successes, you spend them to just succeed at an action, right? So if say I'm on the ground and I'm trying to chase someone down, I can spend a success and be like, I catch up to them, and like I just get to succeed at that. The complications, you spend 2 of those to succeed at it with a cost, right? So if I'd used all my successes, right, and I'm chasing this person down, like, or I need to catch them, I'm going to spend two complications, like 2 of these, like 1, 2, and 3s, right? 2 of those, that means I'm going to succeed, but there's going to be a complication to it. So like maybe I'll catch them, but I'll end up leaving my squad behind, or I'll catch them, and then like a wheel in my car will give out, or like I'll catch up to them, but also I get shot. Um, so it's more of a resource management game than anything else.
Okay, interesting. That's pretty cool. So, Dieselpunk, but it's airplanes. What exactly is Dieselpunk for someone who might not know?
So Dieselpunk started as a iteration on steampunk, where steampunk is based around steam technology and Victorian era politics and fashion and sensibilities. And the original roots was people like rebelling against the constraints of a heavy Victorian society um, with new exciting technology they have. Dieselpunk shares a few of those ideas, but pushes it into more of the post World War II heavily American and European inspired setting. So you get and it's all fuel inspired. So it all revolves around more traditional ideas of fuel. So you're using gasoline and you're using oil, and you've got this very retro aesthetic, but you're still fighting. The roots of it still go back to fighting against like your sort of lot in life and fighting and rebelling against the station society is trying to place you in.
Okay, interesting. That's pretty cool. And so, like, is there actual like what do they call it, dog fighting in airplanes, or how's that work?
Oh, there is absolutely dogfighting in airplanes. Um, Another fun little tidbit about why I decided to make this game is I come from a family of pilots. So my dad is a charter pilot. My mom is a pilot. My brother is studying drones. My stepdad is a photographer and helps crew hot air balloons. And I ran off to go do games. Um, so a lot of the research for this game was me talking to my family about it and like finding good resources from my family. Um, and the amount of dogfighting videos and dogfighting documentaries I watched, like to prepare to make this game, like this is all a very long way to say that yes, you can dogfight your friends, and yes, there's a lot of dogfighting in this game. The dogfighting itself goes off the same system that um, the rest of the game plays by, with spending successes and spending complications to get what you want done. But the resource management gets changed up a little bit. On the character sheet, you have 4 sections, right? Because we divided your plane up into 4 different parts. You've got your fuselage, which is like your compartment. It's your hull. It holds everything. You got your wings, your guns, and your engine. Um, when you take off, you take all the successes that you have, you take all your dice, and then you allocate them to each of these parts. And then, like, if I want to catch up to somebody and I'm in the air, it's like, all right, I'm going to spend an engine to catch up to them. I'm going to spend a gun to shoot them down. I'm going to spend a wing to like fly out of here. And it leads to a lot of bombastic action in the sky where people are just like describing crazy things that they're doing, but then suddenly someone's out of successes and their gun gets shot out, or they like prioritize the wrong thing and their engine gets blown out and now they're suddenly falling from the sky.
Oh boy, so yeah. And how does that work? Like, because usually, well, I've been kind of out of it for a while. When I was in high school, at least, I did some role playing, and now recently, me and my family got into a dice-based role playing game or whatnot. But usually, you're going around as a team or whatnot, and all together or whatnot. But if you're in an airplane, you kind of, especially one of these ones, maybe I don't know, maybe it's not. But is it the old airplanes where it's just a one-person kind of thingamabob?
Yeah, they're structured after older airplanes, like older World War II styled fighter jets, but also with biplanes thrown in, just because I think biplanes are really cool. Um, but to answer your question, most tabletop, like, there's a classic idiom, right? Anybody who's played Dungeons and Dragons has probably heard the phrase "don't split the party," and I am not really a fan of that phrase because I think a lot of interesting choices and a lot of interesting moments happen when players are split up from each other. And I think player characters spend away from each other can actually enhance the narrative when they come back together and make those like big team moments feel stronger and be less taken for granted. Because like when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you sort of assume that your cleric is going to be around. You're going to have your wizard around. If your rogue gets pouty and hides in a corner somewhere, like, that's fine, but you know they're going to come back to the next dungeon. And I wanted to play around with that idea. So Fuel Priest actually functions better, or doesn't. That's not necessarily true. Fuel Priest, you are encouraged to go off and follow your own threads. So the map that we lay out is huge, and the map you're building is massive. And a tip that we give to GMs is give each player a different lead to follow that takes them to a different corner of the map. And they've all got radios, so they're still in contact with each other, but they can't rely on each other to the same degree they could if they were like right next to each other, right? Because you do get these amazing moments where everybody's leads are interconnected, and then you end up meeting in the middle of the map and having this huge dogfight where you get like a whole squadron of field priests are flying around and like taking down a big bad. But a lot of the smaller character moments and a lot of the smaller moments happen when you've got one field priest is up like in a northern desert, and you got another one like way far off into the east in like some massive forest, or you've got like one is locked in a city. It was like, and you get all these small character moments because yeah, they have all the successes to like do more or less what they need to do, but when they're alone, they're vulnerable, and it makes it harder. It makes the choices they have. It makes each success that they have to spend worth way more because it is a way more limited resource.
For sure, and I agree with the whole thing about making for better story. I used to listen to a podcast called the Glass Cannon Podcast, where they do actual role play of the Pathfinder adventures or whatnot. And one time the orc got separated from his party or whatnot, and the bad guys ended up throwing him in a catapult and whatnot, and he ended up living and whatnot. But yeah, it made for quite a story, I think.
Yeah, I remember that episode, and that I think that part was my favorite part of the entire Glass Cannon podcast. And it's those small moments that I really, really enjoy out of role playing games. Is a trend I've seen in like especially out of Dungeons. Granted, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons for a while because I'm getting way more into the indie scene of tabletop role playing games, and those appeal to my sensibility. It's like my role playing sensibilities more than Dungeons and Dragons does. But yeah, this is all just a long way to say I think the narrative gets way stronger when everybody brings their own stakes to it, and everybody comes from different locations and isn't all together. Because that's just interesting storytelling.
For sure. So, not to detract from your game or whatnot, but going back to the Glass Cannon podcast, I've kind of fallen away from it for a little bit because I've trying to catch up with another podcast I found called Tuesday Night Gaming Podcast, which is more about tabletop gaming. But not to give spoilers or whatnot, but could you maybe give me a hint? Does Lork ever return to the party?
I don't remember. I was listening to it when I worked more construction jobs, so I could just do a task, plug in my headphones, and go ham all day. So I'd be able to just listen to podcasts all day. But I don't have the time to do that anymore, so I've really fallen behind on a lot of my podcasts.
Oh boy, what a bummer! And so now you're not doing construction anymore?
No, I'm doing Fuel Priest.
Fuel Priest. So is that why you went to you talk of your thesis or whatnot? Was it in game design, or what was the degree for, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah. So Hampshire, when you leave Hampshire, you always leave with a Bachelor of Arts in whatever your field of study was, because it's one of those create your own major schools. And mine was in game design, and specifically, I was looking at how games can be used to start conversation, and like what makes games special as a storytelling medium. And so actually, hang on, I've got my diploma right here, so I can read what it says on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it says Sean Robert Bilson, Bachelor of Arts, and then on the other documentation it just says like in game design.
Okay, well there you go. So is it just strictly role playing games, or do you ever get into tabletop board games or card games or anything like that?
Yeah, so the majority of my design experience is in video game design and tabletop role-playing game design. I haven't, to be honest, I don't feel qualified to try board game design just because I haven't played a lot of board games, and I don't really know sort of the basics of what goes on in that design space. Because I find it's harder for me to get invested in a board game in the same way it is for me to get invested in a role-playing game for some reason. And after we finish up not Timeless Caverns, after we finish up Fuel Priest, I want to spend a little bit more time in the board game design space and see what sort of interesting boundaries can be pushed in there.
And so does everybody else in your crew of 5? Do they all have a similar degree, or how did that all go down?
Short answer, no. My Daniel, our social media and operations manager, is currently going to UNM for his master's in operations and marketing, and I'm pretty sure he graduated his undergrad with a bachelor's in business. Drew, he changes every time I ask him. He tells me a different thing what he graduated in, but what I've been able to nail down is that he graduated in physics.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe specifically astrophysics. We like to make fun of him and say he graduated in astrology, but that's fun. Tanner is still in school, and Megan works at a library and is just, oh my god, she's so cool. He just writes amazing, amazing stories.
Cool. So, are there going to be a lot of stories in the role playing game book, or what all does somebody get if they back Fuel Priest?
So one, you're going to get my love and adoration, and I think that's worth a backer level in itself. But oh boy. But what you get out of the book is, depending on whether you back for a hardcover book or a softcover book, it's going to be roughly 80 to 100 pages of rules, gorgeous art from a lot of the really awesome artists we're working with, stories written by myself, by Tanner, and by Megan, and then we're going to include a sample adventure and then sample locations and NPCs and places, and enemies for people who want to run the game but want to sort of pick up and play.
Cool beans. And let's see. And it looks like I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but if somebody backs this, when would they anticipate getting the actual game so they can start playing Fuel Priest?
So if they back at the PDF level, they can get. I believe, hoping for April, July for the PDF. Printing and shipping, we've allocated about a month for that to happen. So ideally, people will have the book in their hands late August to beginning of October.
Okay, that's not bad. Cool. And does somebody get if they do get the book, will they get the PDF in the meantime while they're waiting for the book?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool, that's pretty cool. So per se, Sean, we have a running joke on my podcast, but maybe it is true. Per se, somebody's kind of fallen asleep. It wouldn't be because of you or your game. It'd be because of me and my podcast. Yesterday morning, which was the 16th of March, we'd already released 41 episodes for the year, and so they get a little tired of me droning on and on. But now you have their full attention, so they don't hit the oncoming traffic, and you have their full attention, or they're busy hammering nails in and they're listening with their ears wide open or whatnot. They're not have a foreman yelling at them on the construction site or whatnot. But you have their full attention. Why should they take a chance on Fuel Priest, especially with all the other great board games and RPGs and RPG settings and whatnot that are currently on Kickstarter? Why should they take a chance on Fuel Priest?
Personally, I'm biased, and I think it's a really, really fun game, and I know we've all put a lot of work into it. But I think a lot of it is that you don't see a lot of games trying to do the thing we're doing with it. I know there are other games that incorporate aircraft, and there are other games that do use Dieselpunk, but you won't see. I think we're providing something entirely unique. I think we're providing a game with mechanics built from the ground up to enforce the narrative that we're trying to tell with this game. The mechanics are built, are cohesively built to tell the story of what it is like to be this type of person in this type of environment. And so the mechanics are tight. In a lot of other RPGs I haven't seen a lot of where the core mechanic is resource management of when you get to succeed. I haven't seen that around. Also, back to my original point, airplanes are just really, really cool. Airplanes are cool. Dieselpunk is cool. And if you pick it up, you're going to be having like a fun experience. And even if you back it and never play it, it's a good looking book and is going to look great on your bookshelf.
Well, there you go. There you go. So yeah, but you'd have to go. I don't know if it's really a thing, but you'd have to go. Somebody a while back ago, one of my author friends on Facebook or whatnot that I've kind of associated with or whatnot, they talked of the new trend is to put your books in the bookshelf facing backwards. But to be able to do that here, that wouldn't work as well.
Yeah, I don't think we can really do that online. I also don't think we're well known enough for that to work.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so it looks like just a really cool project. And you talked about being biased. I know in the tabletop board games, at least, they because usually the creators are biased as well, so they have a lot of people, YouTubers and whatnot, previewing and reviewing it. But I haven't seen that as much in the RPG world. Do you guys have anybody previewing it or reviewing it that we might be able to go and check out?
There's nothing online as of yet. We're in talks with Bloodletter Press to do an interview with them. We've done an interview with Hacked Tabletop. Come next week or like next-ish week, we're gonna have just a live playtest session of our game just on our Kickstarter that you can watch. Other than that, we were at the convention Aresia, the science fiction convention Aresia in I think it was January. We were there, and we sold a bunch of Ashcan copies of the game, just a couple beta copies. We're going to another exciting thing. Anybody who's going to PAX East, we're going to be at PAX East with the Indie Bazaar. We were just talking to Modern Myths today about maybe having a space where we can run a bunch of play tests of our game. So if you want to come play it, like, we are open to people just coming and hitting us up and saying, hey, we want to play your game.
And where and when is that, in case somebody doesn't know?
So PAX East is in Boston from April 5th to April 8th.
Okay, so coming up upon us. Okay, cool. And it looks like, but it looks like they would need to back the project before then, I want to say, or right around that. Yeah, the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th is our last day, which I think it lines up very well with the end of our Kickstarter because we get one large final push.
Well, there you go. There you go. So if you come and play during the final 48 hours and decide it's for you, you can back it and, yeah, hopefully help them get stretch goals and stuff. Now, you guys did something very interesting on the Kickstarter page that I really liked. I know when I've seen social media people and different people like content creators, when they post their Facebook, their Kickstarters or whatnot, they allocate where they're going to put the funds. And I saw you guys did that too. It was really interesting where you like allocate the funds of anybody backing your project, like how much goes towards promotion and creating the book. Now I can't find the stupid thing, but I thought it was really a novel idea.
Yeah, a lot of that is we're trying to be as transparent as we can. We know, like, gaming and especially the tabletop role-playing game space is a small field, and it's just a good practice to have if you're any sort of creator or doing any sort of business, just to be as transparent as you can with the people who are going to consume your media, because ultimately those are the people you have to impress with your project. And if I don't know, I think you just need to be a good person in your business and your business practices as well as in the game you're making. Is I know there have been projects where, like, oh man, this is a really cool project, but I'm not going to give it any of my money because I don't want to support the people behind it. And so, as well as making a good project, we just want to be people that people want to support.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I found it. It says where it's under where does the money go. So I thought that was a really novel idea. But yeah, that's cool. And so yeah, that's awesome. So yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So now I know you said you maybe listened to some of the podcasts or whatnot, so you're probably well aware the next section of the podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for your cell phone, your tablet, a computer, or even a video game. It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to RPGs or whatnot. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment, Sean?
So, oh my gosh, there's actually, I want to talk about a game I've been playing recently on my phone. Is Yeah, it's called Keep in Mind by and it's by Little Moth Games. and I've been playing it on my phone more than I thought I was going to. Honestly, it's just I'm really impressed with how much love and care and effort went into this game. Um, I don't know. There's not really a lot more I can say about it. The art is great. The music is great. It's really cool.
What kind of game is it? What can you tell us about it, Sean?
Yeah, it's like a top-down pixelated isometric sort of exploration of someone trapped in the. I haven't finished it yet, so my interpretation is that it's a dream world, but I feel like when I finish it, that story is going to shift.
Okay, cool. So, you said pixelated or whatnot. Is it kind of like Mario Brothers, where it's a straight track, or is it, or how do you go about playing it?
Yeah, it's an isometric viewpoint. Um, so it's sort of like an eagle eye view on the on this in this neighborhood.
Okay, cool. And is it a paid app or a free app, or?
It's 99 cents.
And is that on iOS and Android, I imagine?
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool, cool. So if you wrote, and it's called what again?
Uh, Keep in mind.
Keep in mind. So, Sean, if you own the rights to Keep in Mind, what would be one thing you would do to make it better or fix it?
Honestly,
Unless you want to lie to us.
nothing. No, no, I'm not a liar. My mama didn't raise a liar.
Well, there you go. She'll be proud of you.
I don't think anything about it. I'm really enjoying the experience that these folk put together, and it's taken me on a ride, and I'm liking all the places it's taking me.
Well, there you go. There you go. You'll have to let us know how that turns out. And you talked about being on another interview or whatnot. Is that a podcast, or can we go ahead and say you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief?
This is the first podcast we've been on to. The other interview that we did was a written interview. So you can go and say you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
Well, there you go. And you said it for us, Sean. So that's awesome. So that's great. Now, mind us coming there to Massachusetts or wherever you are, how to stalk you personally, how would people go about finding out about what you or Timeless Cavern is up to, or about your Kickstarter or whatnot? How would they find you guys? Mind us stalking you in person. I guess they could stalk you in person at PAX East, but I'm not sure how much you want to be stalked.
Yeah, I mean, stalking me at PAX East is going to be pretty easy. I'm going to be standing at the Indie Bazaar and then going to go like outside of the food truck and then going to bed. So I'm going to be pretty easy to find at PAX East. But other than that, you can follow us at Timeless Caverns on Twitter. We're on Facebook as Timeless Caverns. If you want to send us an email, it's just timelesscaverns at gmail.com. If you want to follow specifically any of the other members, I'm Reverend Brigands on Twitter. Oh my gosh, I don't remember the names of the other folk on Twitter, but I will let you know what they are when I find them. But yeah, just if you Google Timeless Caverns, you'll find us. We'll either, depending on what device you're on, we will either be either right above or right below the dungeon in World of Warcraft called Caverns of Time. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter. We're also on Google Plus as Timeless Caverns, and we're on email.
And we'll make sure we leave. If you get me the links, I'll go ahead and leave all the links in the show notes so they don't have to. Sometimes our generation gets a little lazy and they don't want to type it in, but this way they can just click it and then find you. Or I guess if they're headed to PAX East, now they kind of know your whole schedule so they can stalk you, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. Cool. Well, I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's really late there where you're at, but we appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us, Sean.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
No problem. No problem. Now, if somebody's listening, I know you said this is an exclusive to the podcast or whatnot. I know you're focused on the Kickstarter right now, but it looks like you're doing pretty well. They're pretty close to funding, and you guys still have about 3 weeks at the time of the recording, probably about a week or maybe a little bit more by the time we release this episode. Do you guys have future projects in the makes? I know you said you want to maybe jump into board games or whatnot, but is there any kind of dirt or any kind of exclusives you might be able to give us that we can give the fans?
We've got a lot. Well, so we've got a lot of ideas. What we're thinking, of doing after this is taking more of an art collective approach to Timeless Caverns, because this is the first project we're launching as Fuel Priest, and we're sort of formed Timeless Caverns around Fuel Priest. But I know I want to keep making games. Drew and Megan are putting together a zine. And I don't know what sort of position that in, but I know they're going to launch that through Timeless Caverns.
A zine. Sorry, what's that? Is that a game or what is a zine? What's that mean?
It's just like a story collective, just like an online story collective, I believe. Yeah, and then after that, really, we're just going to talk about it, because I know me and Drew are starting to work on another game, like another role-playing game. I've got just ideas and ideas and ideas that I want to work on. And I don't know what Tanner and Daniel want to do after this, or like what projects they want to work on after this. So I think we're just going to really figure it out when we get there.
Well, there you go. Do some of your other ideas include planes or?
Weirdly, no. The little, I don't know. I've got an idea about dogs. I've got an idea about I've got an idea for a letter writing game. The game me and Drew are thinking about is about just like punching gods. We've got ideas floating all over that we're gonna spend some serious time trying to parse.
Well, it sounds like it, yeah. And I know I said I was about to let you go, but just really quickly, so you said you watched a lot of documentaries on dogfighting and whatnot. Any ones you might recommend, or some shows we can watch about dogfighting?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but there is an amazing either documentary or set of videos done by a United States dogfighter, and he goes in excruciating detail about what his thought process is whenever he would get into any sort of dogfight. And the amount of trigonometry and like calculations that this guy was doing in his head, like in the air while getting shot at, is ridiculous. On that, sorry, my housemate's cat is trying to knock over my glass of water onto my bed.
Probably just heard you talking about you have ideas about dogs, but not about cats.
Yeah, I know. Silly cat. He's a good cat though. Yeah, and then, oh my god, I'm blanking on all the really cool ones right now, but I'll keep you posted when I remember what they are. There's a bunch, or there was about a week ago, a bunch of really cool ones on Netflix that I'd found.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you'll have to send us links. And yeah, I've been looking for something to watch on Netflix. That sounds kind of interesting. But for real, we'll let you go. We don't want to keep you up all night. We kept you up far enough. But we really appreciate you coming on the show with us tonight, Sean.
Yeah, thank you so much. Once again, I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
No problem.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now.
You heard her right, folks. It's time for Kickstarter Corner. The thing we love to do is bring you the games you should back or at least check out on the Kickstarters. First off, we got Flippin' Fine's Diner. Flippin' Fine run a diner that is complete chaos in this set collection memory game. Find the ingredients to fill the orders and make tips. And this they have through the 10th of April. So definitely check that one out. It looks really fun. It's like a memory game. And I had one of the creators, Gerald, on as a live broadcast on the Facebook. You should go check that out. I can leave the link in the show notes for y'all. And then we've also got Fractured Zombies. Yes, sirree. Fractured Zombies, a card game involving letter cards designed by a dyslexic, also involving chainsaws, guts, brains, and severed hands. Just from the stuff I mentioned. Keep in mind, this is probably for only about, 13 or 14 plus. I wouldn't go give it to your little kids. They might have nightmares, but just so you know. And they're almost to their goal. They're getting really close, and they go through the 1st of May, so definitely check that one out. Another one that is for 13 or 14 plus would have to be True Messiah, a game of cult warfare. Dolly meets Dune. Recruit zealous followers, compete For surreal powers, control the wasteland. 2 to 4 players. It lasts about 60 to 120 minutes. And they're about a third, they're probably over a third of the way to their goal, and they still got about 19 days to go. Ending on the 11th of April. Definitely check that one out, you fellow geeks. And then we've got Dragon Keepers by Lacerda and Catarina Lacerda. Hopefully I didn't slaughter that. But the art is beautiful. Check out the film on the top of the Kickstarter and then scroll down through the art. It is amazing, I tell you what. It's a thematic game with strategic decision making and gameplay modes for both children and adults. Fun for casual and hardcore gamers. So definitely check this one out. They're over halfway funded and they still got 18 days to go, ending the 9th of April. So definitely check that one out. I love the art and I'm thinking about backing that one. And then, are you wanting to get into Dungeons and Dragons? Do you know anyone who does? And they're kind of intimidated. I know I was when even though we're not playing in Dungeons and Dragons, I was a little intimidated even to start Too Many Bones. But this is for people like me and you. It's 5th edition player starter kit, a Dungeons and Dragons starter kit to help brand new players get a taste of what it's like playing Dungeons and Dragons. They're about a quarter of the way funded, and they still got 20 days to go. They're not going for a very high goal, and I think it's a really low buy-in, so definitely check that out. They go through they go through Thursday, the 12th of April. And then remember Tate Wu? Well, he's back at it again with Cat Rescue, the game of saving cats. Cat Rescue is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game. Players work together to save cats and adopt them, just like in real life. Yes, sirree, Bob. And I have tomorrow off work, so you know what I'm going to be doing? Well, today, because if you're listening to this after it comes out, I have today off work. I'm going to try to get some gaming in, and Cat Rescue's on my list so I can give you a proper review. This still has about 28 days to go, going through the 19th of April. If you liked what was it? Kung Pao Chicken that we reviewed on our podcast, you can go back and listen to that. We also talked to Tay T about that. Yeah, it's going to be similar, and I really love his presentation of the game. So yeah, definitely going to try to play that. We'll get that to the table tomorrow for sure. And then a new one you may not have heard of. They are funded, so keep that in mind when you back, because I know some people don't back until they know something's funded, because they want to make sure it's going to be a good adventure and that they'll be able to get their game. So anyways, it's Operation Deep Freeze, a top secret NWO adventure. It's a project in Latvia. I don't know how to say that. I apologize. Project in Latvia was put on deep freeze when the Soviets pulled out. Time is now critical for Icon to secure it before it thaws. And they're like 500% funded, $3 away, I guess. Still having about 20 days to go, running through the 12th of April. Definitely check that one out. And just looking at some of the art and stuff, you know what it reminds me of? One of my favorite shows as a kid, starring Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, called Spies Like Us. If you haven't seen that show, definitely check it out. It is amazing and funny. You'll laugh your butt off. Yeah. And then we've got, let's see here. What else do we got? Yeah, so we've got a couple more. Yes, we do. We've got Wasteland, the Rise of Alt Felter. Wasteland ROA is based in the Wasteland universe and is the flagship title for a series of upcoming projects and designs by Team Siren. And this one looks awesome. Let's see here. They're about a fourth of the way to go. They got a fourth of the way funded, and they go for 22 days, ending around the 14th of April. So definitely check this one out. The art is cool, and yeah, just everything in the box. It looks like an awesome game. And then the first step on Callus. Now, I actually got some stuff that I was asked by the designer to tell you about on this game. The first step on Callus. New strategy board game that crosses Monopoly with medieval war. It's awesome. There are a ton of board games out there, but few combine the gaming mechanics of Monopoly and cross it with the action of medieval war. Introducing Callus. So, Callus goes way beyond traditional roll and move board games. Players 2 to 4 build networks as they choose cards, roll dice, and strategically direct their faction of powerful characters, soldiers, throughout the detailed gaming board. But it doesn't stop there. No. Callus incorporates the use of dice cards. These unique cards can alter the result of every roll and influence outcomes on the fly. There are many ways to be victorious in the world of Callus, from winning battles to scoring points and occupying enemy territories. But rest assured, only one will be crowned king. Callus comes with a specialized modular gaming board that keeps games fresh, and each character comes with their own backstory and abilities to add to the excitement. Check out this Kickstarter that is going through Monday, April 16th. Definitely check it out. They're about, let's see here, 5,000, 10. They're a fourth of the way funded. They got 24 days to go. So definitely check that one out. And then last but not least, we've got Railroad Rivals. You've played railroad games. You've backed railroad games. But you've never played, and you may have backed Railroad Rivals. But I don't know, unless I'm following you on Kickstarter. That reminds me. Go ahead and click us and follow us on Kickstarter. You can find my personal account on Facebook. That's usually the one I follow, Blake Leafty. And yeah, check that out. I'd love to follow you on Kickstarter, see what you're back and if there's projects you like. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, Railroad Rivals. Railroad Rivals is a fast play tile drafting game where you build a railroad empire that stretches across America and across your table. This is by Forbidden Games, and it looks amazing. They're over halfway to their goal, and they still have got 19 days to go, going through the 10th of April. So definitely check out this game. It looks amazing. I really want to play it. But yeah, for sure. Especially my brother just become a conductor, or he's about to, on a train. So that hits a little bit close to home. So anyways, yes sirree Bob. You know what time it is? The saddest time of your day and my commute and your commute, hopefully. But we've got 143 other episodes you can listen to, especially if you're coming to us anew. And look out for Tuesday Night Gaming Podcast with Alan Gerding. I will be doing a feature on there pretty soon here, if I don't scare Alan away, of course. But yeah, anyways, check that out. And I guess it's time to say goodbye. So get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in the geek fold. And we'll catch y'all, you guessed it, on the flip side. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.